welcome to another fantastic episode of Our Corner, the only podcast with all of your tabletop and board game needs. We're here at the beautiful Silver Dragon out in Peoria, Arizona. I'm with my co-host today, Gin Tech, the Tyler Rudd, and I've got my other co-host who's behind the scenes, Torn Reels, Andy. All right. So before we begin, I just want to let you know something that's coming up that I'm really excited about, especially coming out of the Silver Dragon. The Saturday of the 5th, coming in July, right after Freedom Day, is going to be a DM roundtable here at Silver Dragon. There's going to be at least 10 to 20 DMs giving new DMs and old DMs advice alike. It's going to go from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I can't wait for it. I'm actually super excited. As you know, I've been writing my own. And so I'm curious to hear from both new heads and old heads alike what we can do to level up our game. That being said, let's take a look on the flip side of this. So, like, in a world where your player is basically like their own demigod, right? You find that it attracts people who typically are like narcissistic assholes that are just really about wanting to get the spotlight. Who knows? Maybe they weren't hit as a child. Maybe they didn't get enough attention. Either way, the story that we have titled today is from our r/D&D horror story side of Reddit, labeled "Player Threw an Adult Tantrum and Left the Game When He Wasn't the Main Character." Now, this is actually
fun.
Oh, absolutely. I love hearing when people throw tantrums because I'm just like, dude, fucking leave. Like, you don't like it, go away.
This is a group game.
This
if you
is
want
a
to play a
group
solo game, they actually have like those things. They're called video games.
And you know
Look
something?
into it. If you can't handle like a group setting,
Yeah.
go somewhere else.
Sometimes you don't want to play, a tabletop with other people. Sometimes you want to play your own. If you want your character to be the spotlight, pick a game. There's tons of RPGs out there where you can be the main character.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah.
Sure.
Is there a version, like I know he's mentioned video games as a joke, but is there a version where you can be the main character in a group setting?
Yeah, it depends on how it's written, and if you know you want it that way, you can do that. But you should let everyone else know that you are the main character. These people do
Not
not
just
do
assuming.
that. No, they just it's me.
Yeah.
Like,
That's it. I am him.
Well,
yes.
so in the D&D community, there's something called main character syndrome. It's where you want to be the spotlight and center of attention in every single event. And it's a toxic syndrome. It's not like I'm stepping up to be party leader or whatever because the game can't get going.
It ruins games.
It ruins games.
Quite easily.
So, like in a game, if I wanted to be the main character, I would just have to tell everyone, "Hey, I want to be the main character. Like, back me up here."
Yeah, and people would tell you no.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
because nobody's going to do that, right?
right. Everyone wants to be the main
The way that D&D is set up is that it is a cooperative role-playing game. There are certain points where a story might be focused around a single character, but it's not simply just that single character who's interacting with the story.
And it's usually for a very specific reason.
Yeah.
If you have like a thief and right now in the story you need to steal stuff, sorry, if you're not a thief or you don't have skills like that, you are not going to be big in the story, and that's fine. But you don't. That's different than I need to be the main character all the time.
Yeah. You want your players to feel equally included in every single story, but at the same time, each character does something specific. So you talk about being a necromancer, right?
Yeah.
You love that kind of character concept of like the dark sorcerer. And
always.
That
I always like being
in that aspect, think of it like this: you're going through a library looking for a magical tome. Are you going to trust your fighter to be like, "I found it. It's this one with a symbol on it"? It's like
you have no clue what you're looking for.
You have no clue what you're looking for. I can sense magic and stuff like that, and those are oftentimes good moments for role play themselves. But to sit there and have the fighter be like, "No, I can also make this skill check. I can make this skill check, and maybe I pass it." It's like, no, dude.
Right.
Unless your subclass is the arcane fighter, which some people take that.
I actually disagree. I think they could, but you have to do a lot of setup for that.
Yeah.
Backstory, like you're saying, not even get into like the subclass, but even if they would have to have a backstory, something with that. You can't just you just get the role.
Yeah.
And one more question. Like, I know it fucks up the players, but how does it fuck up the DM? Like, you made your own shit, so.
Because main character syndrome, right? typically comes in interruptive forms where, you have set up scenes for certain players, there's certain things, and what the main character will do is he'll interrupt it. It becomes a disruptive game. So you have a disruptive player. That's where the toxicity really comes in for main character syndrome, is that they start to fuck up the rest of the party, which can fuck up encounters, it can fuck up games, it can fuck up stories. The biggest problem that comes from main character syndrome is I need to be involved in every single thing so that way I am the center of attention. It's an ego thing. It's the same thing for DMs who make their own player characters, or as they're called, DMPCs, which I hate equally. I don't think you should be a DMPC.
If you're going to be a DM, you shouldn't be in the game.
Now, there's some people who can do it and do it well, but most people can't. So I say stay away from it.
As someone who has done that in a game, I did it for a very specific reason. But I had, literally you have to nerf them. It sucks.
Yeah.
I did it for narrative reasons because I had to explain certain things in my game to them without just outright, hey guys, this is what this is, because I would just be sitting there half the game just explaining things to them. That doesn't work.
So rolling into the story, right? It starts off as, I'm reposting this here just for laughs, since I already posted it on r/D&D. I've had this story for a while, and I, along with a couple others in the group, still have a laugh over the absolute fuckery that what I'm about to tell you was every so often. I'm currently in a game where everyone just vibes really well together. All the players are great, the DM is great, and every session is entertaining, etc. However, we had this one player in the beginning. I don't know if he could be counted as a problem player. I don't know how he acts enough to really say. Plus, I think that would have been for our DM to decide anyways. All I do know is that I, as well as the others, found him particularly annoying, some more than others. I also may be a bit biased since I feel a lot of the animosity and tension was placed between me and this person. But I do know for a fact that I wasn't the only one who felt this way. At first, everything was fine. We were all getting to know each other, etc., the usual. Everyone else had a general character idea in mind. This person, though, was consistently and constantly changing things around, even up until they left. But this wasn't the issue. We would all roll with whatever he thought, and then whatever he was going to play whenever. We'd all hang out, since we did talk a few times in between sessions, 0 and 1, and we would often talk about our characters. From what I remember, this guy was going to play an artificer, but then flipped back and forth between artificer and wizard. He finally settled on wizard. But again, he kept switching subclasses. This wasn't much of a problem again, just something to note. He was cool at first, just indecisive. However, sometime after session 0, when he had decided on playing a wizard, he started to act all high and mighty. He'd do it to everyone. And at first, it just came off as jokes that got old really fast, but it was all tolerable. Though he kept getting more arrogant and pretty fast. I mean, real quick pause. First of all, he's already starting with jokes that are getting really old really fast. There's no conversation there between him and OP, right? My thought is that if something is where he's acting high and mighty, he's already exuding kind of characteristics of like a problem player. I can see OP's point. Maybe he's just trying to play his character. Maybe he's kind of doing his thing. But at the same time, if he's telling jokes and people are like, hey, I don't like that, that's a conversation to have with that player. Back to the story. Though he kept getting more arrogant and pretty fast within a really short amount of time, he was cutting people off, trying to make a lot of the conversations all about him, etc. Even still, at this point, it was still somewhat tolerable up until he started getting pretty forceful with these aforementioned jokes. He suddenly started targeting me a lot more than the others, and he would become so overbearing with them that the moment I would even attempt to mention anything about my character, he would cut me off. They were all along the lines of, wizards are better than this because X, Y, and Z, lol. Which is fine. I know wizards are the best class in the game, and sure, it's funny to joke about, I guess, but the problem arose because he became so adamant about talking over me under the guise of, I'm just joking. It was so bad to where I could hardly even speak in calls. I was going to try and talk about anything character related. I almost left the game because of how intense it was. But then a few conversations were had. I was still a little upset, but it wasn't anything I couldn't get over. I will say, however, the apology I received from him was very melodramatic and self-righteous. I guess for lack of better terminology.
So sorry to cut you off, Aaron.
No. Go ahead.
So you're in all these stories I've heard you say so far, every single one, it's the DM never took anyone aside.
Yeah.
Like, if we would just been like, hey, stop. Like, just please. And it, at least so far, if you're having that person say, like, oh, wizards are best, and he's not, and he's joking.
Yeah.
He's not
I'm
really
just
joking.
Yeah.
That's something you genuinely need to, like, figure out, because this is not, just for what you have, it's not getting better. It's getting worse. Like, why? It shouldn't be on another player, and it seems like they're in one of the D&D where you do it, like, over the phone, like you do it in, like, a Discord.
Yeah.
Like, you definitely have to stop that beforehand, because it's not in person. You can't wait.
Isn't that the DM's job, supposed to mediate between, like, players like that?
Yeah. So DMs typically act as referees. Honestly, we're not therapists. Like, to be 100% fair, we can only say, hey, look, this is being a problem. You need to stop. Like, you're being disruptive. You can leave the table. They control the table. So to some extent, you are right. But before you boot a player, you always want to bring behaviors to attention. Just because, like, if I'm doing something and I'm not aware that I'm being a dick, it's like, okay. And then you boot me out of the blue. It's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing wrong. And you have DMs that do that. There are horror stories that I've heard where they do that.
Wait, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to have a conversation with them at least.
Yeah,
like,
so-
hey,
but
like,
they're
stop
not.
it.
So here's the deal. This is the red flag so far, right? The player first starts off with, wizards are the best. LOL, lol. I'm like, it's cool that you think your character is the best. I want you to think your character is the best character that you make. But the other part of that is, it's not better than everybody else's character. And we get into this more later down this post. Here's the point, right? Right now, it seems what this guy's doing is rage baiting like a bunch of fucking bears, right? Because you're sitting there being like, hey, you know what? I'm just joking. Don't take it that way. Like, I'm just joking. Yeah. Like, some people have that sense of humor and some people don't. You can't. If I sit there and I keep poking you with a stick and you turn around and slug me in the face, I can't go, well, I was just joking. It's like, dude,
I'd have just killed this character. I'd be like, I want to roll to kill this character. Done. Dead.
Yeah.
All right, get out of here.
And I think part of this is definitely that they're not in person. So you have to remember, if you're not playing a game in person, if you're playing it over Discord, you have to remember things get lost in translation when you're not in person. Like, you could genuinely be joking and mean it 100% that way, but you have to moderate how the person took it, because if you know that they're not taking it the way you're intending, you need to, like, figure that out. You can't just let it go and I'm amazing, so screw it. Like,
now, part of this is the party's problem for communication, right? Because this point here lets me know that it's been going on for a minute. They didn't stop him the first couple times it happened. He even says it like it got more forceful. Well, at some point, you should have stopped it and been like, hey, look, real quick, man, I need to check you because I'm speaking. And, like, you can't just let these kind of guys be like, okay, well, I'm going to push people around, because then they will. Like, if you give any sort of mouse an inch, them motherfuckers will take the next 7 miles, use your ID, and buy a bus pass to a terrorist convention.
It's those people that do that. Like, it just they don't either take the game serious, like how remember Zion did.
Yeah.
Or they do it too much, where it's just annoying now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's no longer fun to play.
You
with
have
your
to
game
you have to have
done.
fun during your games, but you have to be present in the game. Like that's the point of like, oh, we're taking it serious. Not that it's like, okay, it's an epic adventure, game face. It's like, no, you got to have fun. I just want you to be present. I want you to be here. Don't be somewhere else. Like that's different than being main character syndrome. Main character syndrome is like, it's like right now, if we were to, it's like they believe that they're in their own like TV show, right? This is focused around my character, his struggles and triumphs, and he's going to be a part of every single interaction.
All the time.
All the time. And it's like, if you're going to be that big of a fucking narcissist, stand in front of a mirror, put on different hats, and be your own characters. Like, write a book, play a video game. Who knows? You might have more fun than trying to be in a cooperative game where everybody else gets their turn in the spotlight.
And it's different from like, oh, I'm playing a game where I'm having to carry other people. That's not what this is. This is, I'm just going to carry my entire team because they suck and I'm amazing.
Yeah.
It's two completely different things. It's instead of a have to, it's a want to and like a demand. Like
It's a need to. It's they need to do it. And like I said, man, either be more abused as a child or be left alone a little bit more. Pick one though.
Yep.
And there's gonna be times, I'm assuming in the story, where the one character is gonna have to support the rest. Like if you're
Yes.
sneaking, you have to break into
Yes.
things. I'm assuming the I think it's assassin class. I think I'm not very well versed.
You're going
in this.
back to 4th edition where it's like you have your own classes and assassin is one of them. No.
Right.
If you're a barbarian, what are you going to do there?
Right.
You're not going to do anything.
Yeah, you're gonna leave it up to the person
you have
that
to
can
be
pick
okay with
lots and
that.
everything like that. You know what I mean?
Now, the thing is that every character can make attempts to do the same thing, right? The barbarian can't attempt to pick a lock. He doesn't get the same bonuses. He doesn't have the same skill set to do these things. So he doesn't normally get bonuses. He might even take penalties depending on, the aspects surrounding it. But at the same time, if he tries to, lockpick and he succeeds, then he succeeds. The idea is that if you have a friend who's a rogue and he's like, I'm going to pick the lock, and the barbarian goes, no, you're not. I'm going to kick open the door.
I'll do it. And it's like,
yeah, I'm going to kick open the door because we don't have time for this. Or I'm going to go ahead here and pick the lock because, you haven't succeeded a single stealth check all game. It's like, dude, let him fucking play his guy. And there'll always be something. Either they're going to be like Mary Sue's, they're going to be that guy's. They're just
that's just annoying.
It's just annoying.
You can't play with people like that.
It's annoying. You can't play with people like that. And personally, I'd rather fill a bucket full of concrete, dunk their feet in them, and drop them in the ocean, so that way they can be the main character of Finding Nemo.
you have to let it harden. You forgot that part. You just dumped a bucket with a person in it and he swims up.
He just swims up. He's like, what happened? That was just a warning.
Yeah.
No, it's just warning shots.
Yeah.
I meant to do that.
I feel like that's how you play your class. Something happens by accident. I meant to do that.
Rolling back into the post here. However, I did try my best to move past it, as I had opened up about some anxieties I have in general during my conversation with this person. They mentioned they could relate, so I thought with that, sometime all would be forgiven. Nope, Lamau. Again, keeping on that theme. At first, the person's behavior was tolerable, but for the first month or two worth of sessions, it slowly became worse and worse for everyone at the table.
Can I stop here really quick, Aaron?
Yes.
It seems like it's going from not tolerable ever at any point to, oh, it's tolerable, we kind of dealt with it. It's like,
oh, yeah.
No, you needed to, figure it out.
Wait till the end of this. This one's going
to... It gets worse? Okay, because it keeps going back and forth.
You're going to see everything, okay?
Okay.
And now, this player was arrogant and self-centered. Every session was almost entirely dominated by him and his character. To put it simply, he basically had a mild case of main character syndrome. He was also very hypocritical in several ways. The main ways I can remember was how he would take literally entire sessions, or close to it, to himself. The entire session would be all about this character doing things, but then he would complain the rest of the party took too long to do something. On a similar note, he'd get huffy if we took long time to do something at all, even if that long time was just 10 minutes, especially if it was a silly or stupid, all because he wouldn't be having fun. Yet again, he'd take entire sessions to do the most boring shit that only his character was involved in. All the damn time. Basically, he'd only be having fun if he was the center of attention. And if that wasn't the case, it was a problem. For example, there was one session where for about an hour, the party was in a pet store goofing off. All of us, except for him, of course, were having fun, having a blast. This hour came after 2 or so hours of being focused on his character's backstory stuff. We were in a town that literally only existed in our DM's world because this player wanted it to. We wouldn't have even been there if it weren't for him. Anyways, this pet store sequence even took as long as it did because this player, who I forgot to mention, would constantly metagamed several times to reinsert himself into the situation. His character left the store multiple times, yet he'd suddenly reappear when something interesting was happening between other characters. He also made his character examine a gaggle of weird fey lizards, which there was about 7 of them, and had to get descriptions for each fucking one. He then proceeded to buy each fucking lizard. But no, we took too long. When in reality, his character's interactions within that store alone took as much time as the other 4 players combined. I should also elaborate, this isn't the only time this guy would metagame. Like, he would do it constantly. 2 characters having a nice moment that completely doesn't involve him. Suddenly he's there describing his weird-ass familiar in detail, despite already having a picture. Now,
why would you keep playing this game? This sounds really boring. Like, I'm. It's not the story's not boring, but like,
how many sessions did you get through before
why would
this?
you waste this much time? Just leave.
But not even if it doesn't sound boring, bro. Like, why would you keep going with him? Like, after the first, I'm done.
Yeah, after the 2 hours, I'd be like, you got 15 minutes. Like,
You got about
I'm
15
done.
minutes.
Like,
I'm done. I'm just
I don't
done.
need to be here. Like,
Can I ask a question? What is metagame?
No.
No, don't answer that. Never mind. I'll ask.
No. It's fine. It's pretty much you're going outside the game. Like you already know you know more than your character does, and you use your characters in ways that they would never do it without you having that knowledge. I don't think I explained anything.
Okay, so it's
said a lot of nothing.
bottom line, it's player knowledge versus character knowledge. Okay, so if you're playing, like, let me simplify it to the most. Okay, you're playing Clue. All right, you put yourself in the position of one of your pawns. Okay, you yourself, outside of that character, have assumptions on how this game works, everything like that. You know the technicals, okay, how the game works, how to do everything. Your pawn, however, doesn't know who the fuck it is. He's playing a detective. He's trying to figure it out. So it would be the equivalent of you looking at the cards, putting them back inside the file, and then playing the character to make sure that your character ended up knowing which cards were where.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like you've obviously played video games, okay? After you make your first run through of the game, you go back through, you play the game again, but you do everything in your power to make your guy so that he knows exactly where to be as it happens, to get the most out of it. When you're talking about it, it doesn't sound so bad. Everybody would do it. Everybody at some point has metagamed. Everybody at some point continues to metagame. The thing is that metagaming is a huge problem because you ruin the story in the game for everyone else at the table. Think of it like this, okay? You're playing your character. You're having fun. You're playing your necromancer, a sorcerer, right? and you're like, you know what? I'm going to raise the dead in this town. Something slips your mind, you know. Oh, wait, they don't like necromancy here, and the guards are called. One of the other players knows this, and right as you raise the dead, he walks over, he kills them. It's not his turn. He goes, before those dead people raise up, I kill them. It's like you didn't let him finish his action or his turn. You interrupted him because you knew the rule.
Before any of the actual
Action
people
happened.
in the game would know the rule.
So it's
Got it.
yeah, so it's basically that's kind of a few examples.
It's outside knowledge without.
Now, the thing is with metagaming, there's shades of gray. You know, could it be? Could it not be? Yeah, absolutely. It's very deliberate. Everybody is too quick to rush to the metagaming kind of like blame without thinking.
Right.
The other part of that is you should just realistically, like, people go to it so far as to where if you're playing a module, the players will buy the same like module and read ahead. So that way they know what's coming and can be like, no, it's a problem.
And then they get mad if you change it.
Yeah.
Because you realize that they just read ahead. So you change it and they're like, wait.
That's
You're
not
like,
it?
No. You're like, no. You weren't
I'm so
supposed to
sorry
do
for
that.
taking more time.
No,
Go
no,
ahead,
no.
continue.
Now, this also happened often, but the most memorable instance of it for me was when my character was asking something. I had asked the DM a question. This dude cut me off, asked his own question after having just spent the entire session going over 3 fucking books. And then when I stood my ground and asked the DM for my answer first, which would have been way quicker given the fact that this guy, no joke, had us spend an entire session listening to him ask the DM about a book. This player turned around and said, hang on, I asked a question, or something along those lines in a very condescending way after he had cut me off again. He did most of these things to everyone, but he was particularly keen on doing them to me in much more firm fashion, where it would be more subtle with everyone else. I'm still missing a lot just because I'm so scatterbrained, but I'll try to describe some more. He'd also start whining if he did something that would result in a very obvious consequence, and then said, obvious consequence happened. Example. His character, who I'll talk about a bit more later, was a homebrew race that was based off of some race from the Final Fantasy game. I think they were called Lalafell. Anyways, his wizard was shorter than a halfling and also had negative strength from what I can remember. For some reason, I can't actually remember if there was one. This dude's character, who for now I'll call Half Pint, wanted our paladin's helmet. We were all sitting at the table eating breakfast, and our paladin's helmet was on his lap as he ate. Half Pint tried to grab it, wasn't very stealthy, and then complained when he wasn't able to pull it from our paladin's hands after he grabbed it, and just overall made a big fuss that he didn't get his way, trying to justify why his 2-foot-something negative strength wizard wasn't able to steal this fucking helmet after rolling too low to beat the paladin's perception, then not being able to physically pull it from the paladin's grip. Example. We were traveling on the road and noticed some strange creatures, which I'll refer to as AB. If any of my party members or DM are reading this, they get it. We stopped about 60 feet away from them as we were all sketched out. We were also aware that the AB were sketched out. We were also aware that the AB was staring at us. Half Pint got his familiar, who I'll also talk about later, to grab this stick, fly over to this group of AB and drop the stick on them to check if they were incorporeal, as the way we discovered them and the fact that we were able to deduce that they were similar to gibbering mouthers suggested that they may possibly be incorporeal. This wasn't the issue. The issue was that when these creatures, who were incredibly aware of our presence, started walking towards us as a result of having the stick dropped on them, Half Pint's player started throwing a full-on fit out of character. Like, how do they know it's us and they didn't see that? And when I say he threw a fit, they threw a fit. We were the only other creatures on that road, and they had been staring at us. Those are the two biggest examples I can remember of him getting upset over very obvious consequences or not getting his way. Pause. We just had two examples here where this dude is like, hey, you know what? Fuck these guys. I'm going to do exactly what I want to do to figure out what I need to have done. That part is the metagaming, right? I wonder if they're corporeal or not. Drops the stick. That's a main character thing. And to sit there and be like, well, they weren't staring at us. How do they know? That's a metagame thing. You didn't want a consequence. So what you did is that you guessed the next things ahead. Right?
This game sounds really fucking boring.
Mm-hmm.
But
these are just the parts where
anything?
This is the part where he's involved. These aren't like regular, like this isn't the whole story itself.
Okay, I'm just like, I don't understand, as the other people that are clearly mad at the main character syndrome guy, why you would stick with this.
So OP doesn't really explain the backstory behind the world, the mission, anything like that. The problem is that the main character, the person who's kind of the bane of the existence of the party, because it seems like he's doing everything he can to disrupt other players as well, and the other players are like, no, I don't care. And then, for whatever reason, he's targeting OP and kind of using this, like, he's over top of them mentality. Like, first of all, if anyone cut me off and then said, hold on, I asked the question, I would be upset. Forget the fact that you just disrupted me. The audacity that you have to think yourself before anyone. As the DM, you should have cut that shit off real quick and been like, hey, we're not doing that. And the fact that the DM continually goes with it. I mean, who spends 3 fucking hours explaining a book? I'd been like, look,
I would
man,
lose my fucking mind.
It's got pages and it's got shit in it. Move on.
It's really like
I can imagine Tyler. Hey, dude, just no. You know?
Dude, I would start reading an actual book.
Look,
like I
don't
would just
get me
sit there
wrong.
and read.
There are players in there who want to know about the book, right? That's when you can, as a DM, push pause and be like, look, I'll write out the story for your guy. Here you go. I'm not going to spend 3 hours describing every single page, every single picture, every single, index that goes into a book. That's why we read these fucking manuals first. They're called Dungeon Master's Guide, Player Handbooks, and Monster Manuals. At some point, you got to stop being Tolkien and start being fucking James Bond. All right? Like, if you've noticed the difference between movies, right? Tolkien explains every single step, okay? Which is great.
That's a book.
But it's a book. If you're looking for action and adventure, look at James Bond. I mean, he never has to fucking figure out where he's going. It goes right to the next scene. Like,
you know what?
He doesn't sit there.
The patience of a saint.
Absolutely, patience of a saint. And then explaining 7 different fucking lizards. Insane.
Oh my God, I would never play this game. I would be so bored.
I think Tyler would just get up and be like, I'm done, dude.
Yeah, no, I'm going to log off. I'll see you guys later. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm not going to see you guys later.
I'm not coming back.
Yeah. This main character guy will be perfect for the last story you read. The guy that was writing the book, he'd be perfect for it. Let them have their own stupid game because they clearly need each other. Like, dude, why? As it gets wild.
There's more.
Do this?
Oh, there's more.
I don't get why you would spend the time for this character because you would have to know as a DM. You would have to know you're killing your own game.
Yeah, not just that. Like, look at how much time and sessions that you're wasting. Right? Don't get me wrong. If a character is curious about something, you should have some detail to it.
3 hours.
You have 5 senses, okay? You have 5 senses for the human body. You don't have to spend 3 hours explaining everything that his character sees. If he wants to have that session outside of the game, have that outside of the game. Be like, look, after like 15, 20 minutes, I'm going to look at you and be like, we're moving on.
15, 20, I was like 5.
And if you want to be upset, about that, that's fine, man. You be upset about it. We're moving on to the next part of this because everybody else is spending 3 hours of you talking about this book. All right? This book ain't that fucking compelling.
Or it better be. It better be after that.
There better be like the secret to the fucking universe inside that book. Like
that better be the main reason the quest is there.
It's the equivalent, like when you play a video game and you pick up a book from like the fucking game shelf or whatever, like that one, it starts giving you notice that it only gives you like 5 pages at most.
Yeah, because nobody has the time.
Nobody wants to sit there and read about it. Nobody wants to sit there and read. It's like, oh, it's chapter 1. Well, congratulations. Here's your prize. You spent the longest time fucking reading, you nerd.
Not even that. Even ChatGPT is like, bro, I'm not
touch
making
grass.
all this.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I'm not making all this.
You're telling me that even in a fantasy world where you can do anything you want to fucking sit there and read?
And you're a wizard. You can make something to read it for you.
That's wild as fuck. That's wild
Ain't
as
that
fuck.
wild? Like, you're over here like, my character's special, but you can't cast a spell.
Yes,
Ed, bro.
Yes, he is. He has a special bus he goes on too. Because
Oh, my God.
why?
3 hours is insane.
Oh, we're gonna get-
20 minutes is insane.
I am not
bro.
even in the game, and I'm like, bro.
Can we go?
I'm thinking about
Yeah.
the other characters. Like, dude, I'd log off.
Listen-
I would
listen
go
to
get
this.
dinner.
How they haven't yet is insane to me.
Oh, my God. Listen to this shit. Ready?
Okay,
We're about to get into his character right now.
we're not even there yet.
However, his character was built around the I need to be unique. My character's special
Oh yes,
trope.
it is.
He was a homebrew race. He made his entire personality, I'm a small dude. He was supposedly from the Feywild and belonged to some mysterious forgotten race or something. If I'm remembering correctly.
So is this guy just Yoda?
Dude,
I
don't know.
just sorry.
Can
I
you-
just thought he's Yoda.
Can you pull up the Final Fantasy race, the Lalafell?
We'll
We'll pull it up.
yeah.
We'll pull it up in post
We'll-
credits.
yeah.
And then we'll talk some more shit about it. Now, to tie back into the hypocrisy mentioned earlier, he was constantly changing shit about his character, but couldn't stand when anyone else was indecisive whatsoever.
Why would you play this game?
The real kicker, though, is that the DM had to tell him no to one of the traits he wanted to give his homebrew race. The trait was advantage against all types of magic/magical effects, which for a guy who would act smarter than thou and has said that he can't stand OP characters or power gaming was pretty ironic. He also basically completely disregarded how familiars via the Find Familiar spell work. The problem wasn't that he had a sentient, highly intelligent, weird flying fey salamander thing, but rather that this thing was incorporeal and was able to do basically whatever it wanted without consequences.
So you give
But
him-
then when the player would throw a fit if the DM said, no, it can't do that.
So he gave himself in the game an imaginary friend and got mad because the imaginary friend can't do certain things because he wanted to be, like you said, the main character. So he's not just the main character. He wanted to be a god in the universe.
I'm
their
new to
game.
this whole thing. He wanted 2 characters, right? He wanted to play 2 characters. That's what I'm hearing.
No, he wanted a little lackey that can do all this stuff for him, and then he could get away with not having to like.
Consequences, right?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't do it.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, when you have a familiar, right? You're basically having like a pet of some sort that can help you with tasks, do certain things. He wanted an all-around like OP pet, like something that can do things. Now, are you familiar with the term power gaming? No. So power gaming is when you maximize all of the stats you need to in order to be overly powerful in that area. It's also known as min-maxing. It's something that a lot of characters do, and you always want to do it. It's a video game mentality, right? When you play like play like New Vegas, you're like, oh, I'm gonna make this character so that he can do everything really well, and then he can just walk through. Like you build up all of your stealth, and then you just steal shit, and you have the best character in the game. That's what it is. Or like if you've played Skyrim, you know that person who's like, hey, you're gonna crouch the entire time. And then everywhere you walk, you'll build your stealth all the way up. You'll steal the best armor, and then you can work on everything else. That's kind of where the min-maxing thought process goes.
And like Aaron said, everyone does it, but it's to an extent. Like you can't just like
Apologies.
It's metagaming. It's like low-level metagaming until it gets really, really bad.
From what I understand about this, about like Dungeons and Dragons and everything like that. Again, I'm not an expert, nor I'm very novice. Whenever you make a character, you have to have a nerf of some type, right?
Right.
So I can't be an omniscient character.
So
without having a downfall or drawback.
When you create a character, right, basically everyone's thought process is like this character is a demigod in a world full of like fucking stupid peasants. All right? You already have powers that most of those level 1 peasants don't fucking have.
You're technically already a demigod.
Yes.
And then to go even further, to sit there and be like, look, my guy is the demigod of demigods. Like you can, what's the point? If you make a flawless ass character, where's your chance for role playing? All you're doing is making a character to dungeon crawl. And that's cool if that's the game that you're playing.
Like it's boring fast.
It gets boring fast. The real characters that I've had that have been like where they're really good is people who instill like certain fears inside their characters. So like if they're afraid of spiders and then they have to go down into a cellar full of spiders, they're like, oh shit.
But they're OP, but they're afraid of it.
Yeah. So they're still like, oh, we can complete the challenge, but that person's like, all right, like frozen with terror or something like that. There's other people who are like, oh, they're scared of like fire or water or like they're, due to something that happened to them as a child, they build it into their backstories. So it's a flaw with your hero. Because just like everything else, everything has a flaw. Not these people who make their characters super special. No, sir. These characters that they make super special are so special that they can do anything, jump tall buildings in a single bound. Basically, they're
Superman.
Superman, yep. They're going to be basically Superman in a world full of fucking Batmans. And I know that hurt Tyler.
I'm in pain.
Given that Batman has defeated Superman,
We're not getting into that. You don't have enough time.
You don't have
Kryptonite, brass knuckles.
Don't
That's
even
all I
start
gotta
with
say.
me.
Now.
That's all I
Don't even
gotta
start
say.
with me.
Here we go. Ready? Moving into more. My character special. A big reason why I think he got so pissy near the end of this with us is basically he wanted his character to be unique and special compared to everyone else. But when everyone else had unique characters and Half Pint wasn't the main attraction, he couldn't handle it. Another thing, too, it was made very clear from the start that this game was casual and fun, nothing too serious in the grand scheme of things. This guy, however, was total hard ass about timing and would throw a tantrum if we had to skip sessions. Like he literally treated it as if it was some paid event that he had to drive an hour both ways to get to. I also want to elaborate more on my personal experiences with him. Again, he was similar towards everyone, but he was particularly rude to me. At first, he would message me casual questions about my character. He would talk to me like I was dumb a little bit, but he'd do that to everyone, and in the beginning, he was relatively friendly. However, after the things I mentioned was earlier, this bullshit was amplified towards me specifically. He'd speak to everyone like they were dumb, but would speak down to me like I was a complete fucking idiot all the time. The difference was very obvious to everyone. Let's just put it that way. Even still, I'd ignore it. I would make my character interact positively with his, and she'd speak to him as a fellow spellcaster. As our cleric was more of a frontline / support, while his wizard and my warlock both stayed in the back. I even helped this dude make some art for his character, but because I'd be very blunt and matter of fact and wouldn't just let him treat me like an idiot whenever he'd attempt to, he eventually sent our DM a long-winded message claiming I constantly had an attitude and basically played the victim and blamed me for him leaving. He also bitched about me being passive-aggressive when he was constantly being passive-aggressive in and out of game. He also bitched about our paladin. Ironically, the two people who didn't just let him do whatever he wanted is who he whined about.
Convenient.
I hate bringing this type of shit up, but the way he acted towards me, including other conversations that I won't go into detail about for privacy's sake, makes it feel like because I was the only girl in the group, he treated me differently and tried to treat me really, really nice and act like a white knight after he fucked up. But when I didn't tolerate his shit, he got particularly pissy towards me. Because again, even the paladin, who also didn't put up with his shit, he didn't act as volatile towards. The only difference that I don't share with any of the others is that the fact that I am the only girl, which again makes me feel like that's part of the reason why he was such a dick to me in particular. He's overall just gave me a slight nice guy vibes, but that's just my personal opinion and isn't a solid fact, unlike everything else. Ever since he left, almost all of the tension that had been there vanished. We all have way more fun as a group since we no longer have to pretend to be background characters in this dude's wannabe self-adventure. We have a new player who's absolutely amazing and fits so well with the group. Each session has been a blast, and honestly, as we can all collectively agree, good riddance. TLDR. Arrogant, self-centered player with mild main character syndrome threw a fit, left the game after he couldn't get his way and make the game all about him. Now, with the story finished, let's form a collective opinion.
Fuck that guy.
On some real shit, though. On some real shit, though. Fuck
So,
that guy.
Like,
the thing is that this person
Go
brings up a couple facts, right? First of all, you guys are right. Full on, this main character guy was the asshole.
that
All right? Full on, there's no denying it.
Right.
But how many conversations did you have? How many times did you tell him? Is the real question. OP,
I don't think they did.
don't get me wrong, right? In the story, you talk about how there was conversations had about his behaviors and then he promised, but then there were things that would happen where he would apologize and then go right back to doing them. Tyler, if I slapped you in the face and then said sorry and then proceeded to slap you in the face again, how much of a nice guy am I? Take your time.
You're not at all. This game is supposed to be fun. At no point did I see the fun when he's there. Why wouldn't you just
Or in
quit
general.
and make a new game where he's not in it?
You-
Why?
Can't the
like,
not
DM
just
just
that-
kill him? Like,
Okay,
Be honest. like,
that's a problem too, though.
the DM is also a problem. Here's what I'm seeing, right? You have a problem player that you've basically just said, hey, tell them you're sorry. And then they continue to do it. And instead of putting your foot down like a DM should do, you went ahead and you let this player run your session. Now,
Multiple sessions.
multiple sessions. He's ruined multiple sessions because if I have to spend 3 hours on a fucking book and another 2 hours to describe some fucking lizards, let me tell you something. You're not coming back to my table.
I'm just
You
not
would
gonna-
slay me in real life.
I would slay, dude.
I can imagine Aaron just randomly, and God smited you with a
Yeah.
thunderbolt. There you go. He's
Yeah.
dead.
You'd be like, a rock hit your
There's-
head, now you're in a coma and you're dead.
This
Bye.
game is
Bye.
a way for grown adults to play imaginary. When you take imaginary too seriously, it's almost like those people who say, you can't touch me because I put up my force field. Dude, let it go. You're playing Nerf War with fucking real bullets, all right? Like, stop.
It's
Okay, can we talk about something though? Because I've wanted to say this since the beginning of the guy. How you make an OP character weak and small?
my God.
version
he
of
made
an OP
Yoda. He made
No,
Yoda.
so
Wait, what?
He made Yoda.
Yeah.
so this is what I'm thinking, right?
Like my
You
OP character is
are-
a big ass strong god. You know what I mean? Like if I'm gonna be OP, I'm gonna be OP.
You are looking for, he made his homebrew character. What he wanted is his homebrew character to be special and strong. He didn't want like an actual, like, he wanted his character to be so special that he was the greatest at the table. That's the main character syndrome. That's that, like, in your back of your head, you're like, my character's so much better.
It's just so annoying though.
Yeah, it is. Because first of all, if I'm sitting there going like, I'm going to homebrew my own race. I'm going to make this a town. And the DM was just like, yeah, I'll put the town in the game. Fuck it, man. This DM just, first of all, this is a game for fun. Okay, so the DM adding it to the game was like, yeah, this could be fun. Maybe it was experimental. But he didn't stop the guy from like fucking talking or doing his shit or being interruptive and being disruptive, which makes me believe that the DM liked the guy. Because if you
Or they were
don't,
homies or something.
yeah, if you don't like someone, you clearly put a stop to it or get rid of them. I mean, honestly, if you're having trouble finding players, that's one reason that you might not have booted this guy. But at the same time, at some point, you're like, look, I can run it with 3 fucking people.
Right.
Like,
It'd be-
so they
it'd be
have,
better.
from what I'm understanding, they have 4 people, right? They have this fucking guy, they have her warlock, they have a paladin, and they have a cleric. Okay.
Which aren't they all like spellcasters technically?
Kind of. They're a divine. So they have 2 divines and 1 warlock
but
along
wouldn't-
with a wizard.
I was sitting there. I was like, they all
Yeah,
cast
but
spells, no?
but he wanted to be the best. He
Yeah.
wanted to be the
Tom
guy.
Bombadil.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes.
So I want to put it to you in a way that, like, there's so much toxicity coming from the DM and this guy that it made your other players miserable. Now, maybe the DM didn't mean to do it because it sounds like they still wanted to play his game because it was entertaining.
Sounds like they still are playing his game.
And it sounds like they are still playing his game. Here's the thing that I will say. You decided to let this character basically run your game by putting an entire city inside your game. You let him run the game by making his familiar whatever he wanted it to be, but didn't want to let it ruin your game. That's fine. You had some backbone in some of that aspect. But to sit there and have a player that throws a fit and a fucking tantrum and be like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to leave and let him do this. Like, he's fine. You do it. Whatever. First of all, that's not going to make a good game. It's only going to encourage his main character syndrome. And it sounds like even with discouraging his main character syndrome, you didn't have the right points. I mean, if it goes back to, again, I apologize for dropping the piano on your cat, but let me go over there and hit your dog with a car. What the fuck? If you're still doing and exhibiting those same habits, you shouldn't put up with it. So OP, either find a new game or petition your DM to kick him the fuck out.
But OP was part of the problem too. What if you hated the guy? Why'd you make him art?
What's OP?
The original poster.
Oh, okay.
Why would you make him art? Why would you answer his messages outside of the game? Apparently, he has he has 3 hours to describe a book. Keep it, if you don't like it, keep it all within the game then. Don't do extra because you're in your own way. You are allowing him to do it too. Like, it's ridiculous.
And the fact that you're letting him boss you around, not bossing you around, but hey, draw this for me. Hey, do this for me.
Yeah.
It's giving him more fuel for his main
Yep.
character.
And
syndrome.
the other thing is that you noticed that she said, hey, he didn't do this to the paladin player. He didn't do this to the other players. And I think the reason is because I'm a girl. Maybe that seems like it's a really legitimate reason if he's doing this stuff and the other player's like, nah, dude. And he's like, oh. So in that aspect, it's like your main character syndrome comes from your beta male mentality and probably penis envy. Like that really does seem to be like what happens, you know, especially for people who are like, I want to be the strongest, but I'm creating a joke lol character. He's tiny, carry me. Like it's not that joke characters don't work. And it's not that they're not great. It's that they're not great for long campaigns like this one seems to be. If you want to make a joke character, do a sandbox or one shots. Don't do them for like, hey, I'm going to play this character for 7 years because the joke stops being a joke real fast. And with this kind of mentality, that time is halved. You're like basically wearing out your welcome faster than Usain Bolt can run.
Yeah, you get one chance now instead of not even a full session. You get one. All right, haha, okay.
Cool.
Anything else?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, there's nothing. I don't want to do this anymore.
My opinion is that the DM's at fault here because you should have put a stop to that fucking right then and there. Like I bring it up because this is the only memory that I had of actually playing with you guys and it something bad happening. Is when Zion was not focusing. You told him, "Hey, dude, if you're gonna play. If you're not, get the fuck out."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
like you put a stop to his nonsense very fucking fast.
Yep, and here's what I'm going to tell you. No D&D is better than bad D&D. Everybody here saw the red flag and decided, hey, let's go jump in the gorilla pen anyways. I'm sure it's friendly and not at all like the warning sign stated. So when you get your arm torn off and beaten to death, you can't look around and be like, whose fault is it?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Sorry to cut you off, Aaron. Is they all did it and then got mad. It's like you don't get to get mad now. You don't get to be upset.
Yeah,
you knew from the first from session 0. That's what she said. There was problems right away. Why would you keep going? What is the point?
Why would you? And what? Yeah. I mean, honestly, everyone in this post seems like an asshole, but it does seem like OP ended up being the biggest victim just because of the fact that this dude seemed to pick on her more. Standing up for yourself should always be a priority, especially at the D&D table. You know, everybody, any table in any point of life, if you let people pick on you, they're going to continue to pick on you. Where was the DM? Where was the other players? Where was this player? You seemed like such a nice person that you made them art, but the moment that they turned around and started doing this shit, I would never help them again.
Nope.
I would be like, you are on your own, motherfucker.
If you're so amazing, you can make your own art.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that, and we keep going back and forth to this particular aspect, but this gentleman just seems like he was the worst player to have been on this. Now, I don't know if they were all new players or if they were experienced. It sounds like they were experienced since they didn't have a problem learning the rules. The only issue was with the homebrew character. Is what is. And the fact is that I'm glad this ended with him fucking leaving. I would have liked to see him kicked out versus being leaving because that means that they gave him the option to leave instead of throwing him out on his head so that way it would knock some sense into him and pass off the problem. Two birds with one stone. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, they never actually fixed anything.
Yeah.
They just made it not their problem anymore.
How could they learn the rules if it took them 3 hours to read the fucking book?
No, not the book. A book.
No.
It's the book inside the game.
Oh, so it's not even the
No.
Dungeon
No.
Master.
No.
nothing.
Oh, I
This
thought it was
dude
a
just
Dungeon
let
Master
him
thing.
make a book for 3 hours. Yeah. Fake book.
That's insane.
Oh, and I don't think the guy even got the book.
That's insane.
Why would you?
I thought we were talking about
No.
like what the DM's
No.
reading. You know what I mean?
No.
There's difference between being like, look, I'm going to read this. Let me inquire further about this book. Is there anything written in the book that would pop out, like handwriting, mistakes, words, things like that might be noticeable? No. Okay. Is there anything magical about the book?
Peace.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Ask a few questions. Move the fuck on.
3 hours for that, dude? That's insane.
Not to mention, this is just one example of how he ruined a session. They give us like 2-3 examples, okay? And the fact that when something doesn't go his way, that he throws a tantrum and a fit. Dude, this is a game of imaginary. You cannot sit there and be like, I didn't get my way. My character was special. no, I'm going to pout and sit in a corner. Dude, take your ass outside. No one cares.
You can't take shit that seriously. Like me, I got upset when we were playing ours because I would roll and get just ones. I was like, bro, there's no way I'm failing.
Yeah, but that's
this
different
entire
though.
time.
But that's different though.
No, I know.
This dude,
You're
But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a difference between throwing a tantrum for stupid ass reasons and throwing a tantrum for a real reason. Mine was a real reason. I hit you like 8 times.
But you didn't get angry at Aaron.
Right.
You didn't get angry.
You just got mad at the dice.
You didn't
Right.
You didn't step outside the game and be like, this game's fucking stupid. My character shouldn't have to face critical failures. It's like, dude, get out of here.
No, dude.
Hey.
Like, if you can't withstand a critical failure for your character, then
Aaron.
you shouldn't be playing this game. Just play something else.
Aaron, I just want to let you know, anytime you make your next game, I demand you to describe to me for 3 hours a book. Every time.
I demand
Every
that you
session.
suck these nuts. Like
I
that's.
want you to tell
I
me
want-
every spell in my spell book.
Seriously, in detail, and I want you to write it out in like the Cyrillic and all that. And I need pictures.
And I need
I want
ancient
you-
language. I need you to create me an ancient language.
Yep.
No.
Well, here's the thing.
With
I want you to go
syllables.
ahead. I want you to go ahead, hold your breath, and I'll let you know when that's over. And if you pass out before that's over, well, I guess I just don't have to do it.
Right.
Dude, I want just for myself because I like cringe. I want a recording of that game of him
Right.
describing for the book for 3 hours. Just
my God.
could you imagine that as a DM? You're just like, you want me to what? Are you?
I was about to ask
me?
that. How, like, as a DM, what are you doing physically?
Dude, I would lose
if
my
someone
goddamn
goes,
mind.
"Can you read this book to me for like 3 hours?" Like,
No.
it genuinely, what are you doing?
No.
No.
As a DM, you should have a yes before no mentality. But that doesn't mean that no is off the table. That is the biggest load of crap that every player thinks is like, the DM can't say no. It's like, he absolutely can fucking say no. If you want to jump to the moon and you're like, yeah, but my character's speed is only 30 feet, you're not making it off the ground. There's limits to what you can do in this world. Like, the jump to the moon, you roll a natural 20. You don't jump to the fucking moon. You just higher than you've jumped ever before.
Yep.
There's nothing that's like that. That's the thing that most people don't understand about critical failure and critical success. Critical failure is the worst possible outcome of the situation, and critical success is the best possible outcome of the situation. You should have your character succeed. Maybe not in the way that they want to succeed.
But they succeeded.
They succeeded. So think of it like this. Strength check, right? Your character wants to lift a mountain. Rolls a 20. You don't lift a mountain, but you do lift up a big-ass boulder. Or maybe you grab the dirt and you manage to lift a shell of rock.
Or you found a secret door and you
Mm-hmm.
opened the door that was hidden.
See,
in the
I
mountain.
got to go back to the book thing. If Aaron, I think I know what you would do. You'd describe about a page or two, and then you'd flip to the third page, and then something eats you, and you're dead. Because Aaron doesn't want to, like...
If you had me describe a book for 3 hours, at the end of that book, it turns into a mimic and eats your face.
Yeah, and you're
No,
done.
and you're
and
not-
you're
you're
done.
not
You don't
rolling
get
for
to
that.
play anymore.
You're not rolling
done.
for that. You're
Yeah.
dying
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah. I 100% believe that if you're there to waste sessions and time, play a different game.
Right. Again, that's why I say I think the DM is to blame here because after
Also-
3 hours, I would be like, dude, you're done. Like,
Know
just
your
get out.
party. Know your party. If everybody else is there to have a good time, you shouldn't be the asshole sitting there with a stopwatch, especially if you're having them describe shit for hours on end. If I have to sit there and describe to you what a lizard's scale pattern looks like,
I would lose my mind.
I would mute you. I would mute you for the rest of the
I was
game.
gonna say that. Dude. I was like, I feel like Tyler would just be like, and mute.
Dude,
And I would continue to do it. He comes off mute, I'd mute him. And then just like until he gets off. And that's a very toxic way of doing it.
Fucking muting me.
Don't get me wrong. We joke that is a very toxic way of doing it.
but- you have to have a line. Like you have to.
Dude.
Like,
After the first 5 minutes of describing a book, I'd have been done. I'd have been like, no.
hey, describe this book to me. It's fucking rectangle. There you go.
It's red and rectangle. Done. Next one.
There you go.
It is a leather-bound book with metal spine. And all that says is inside the book, goodbye, and then it turns into a mimic, and that's when that happens. It's a very easy process, you know what I mean? Or you know what? If you want to, if you want to explain, like the book explains something like about the world, okay, explain it and move on. Your biggest thing is to keep the game going as a DM. Keep the game going in a positive way. You don't have to railroad them, but also you don't have to sit there and describe the year 74 BC when Dwarven Iron Hand decided that he was going to be the king and overthrew. If it has nothing to do with your fucking story.
No, I want to hear the rest, Aaron. Go ahead.
No, because I'm going to spend 3 hours and then I'm going to punch you when I get off of this.
You see how mad he got? That's why we don't have a 3-hour book. He did 3 sentences and got mad at me.
Yeah. I want you to continue. I want you to give me a handy on the download. It's not going to happen.
We're close enough. How you doing?
I spent 3 hours sitting there telling you about every syllable in that fucking book. Are you kidding me? Get the fuck out of here.
How does the page feel? It feels like a page, my guy.
What
color is the page? It's an off-white, dusty color.
Yeah.
What does it smell like? It smells like book.
More
importantly, why is your character smelling the book?
It smells like I'm gonna fuck you up right now.
But see, you could make it that part of like what's going on, like the fighter's so dumb he doesn't know how to read, so you're just smelling the book. Like you could make that funny, but
you have. That's the thing is with characters being a DM, you should use every person's 5 senses, right? What something feels like, what something looks like, what something smells like, maybe tastes like, and what you can hear.
And it depends on the player.
Normally, 2 to 3 of those will suffice. Okay?
And that's a lot.
That's a lot of information. Especially, and again, if it doesn't have anything to do with your game. The 3-hour book doesn't show in here that came into any sort of play.
That better be the end game book.
That
better be the whole.
That book better show you the cure for cancer.
That better be. You better be using that book once I fucking describe it for 3 hours every session. I want page numbers.
I want you to pay me $5 for doing that.
Seriously.
And that's the thing is that this is a free game. They're not paying the DM. So you're not exactly like no game. There are people who pay for DMs and there are people who don't.
I don't care how much you pay me.
How much you pay me, I'm not wasting 3 hours describing a book.
Well, because how would you ever, like, that's really
how
cool.
Do you recover?
That's cool that you can do that for 3 hours, but how do you look at people on a screen, all these other people that's not in this, and they're just staring at you like, are you fucking kidding me?
That was creative as fuck, though.
If you
went 3 hours for a book,
here's the deal, man. If you want to hear this book for 3 hours, watch Reading Rainbow. All right, just ain't it. All right.
No. Even LeVar Burton doesn't do it for 3 fucking hours. Not the same book.
Not the same
one. Yeah, different ones. Bro, that DM though is creative as hell though.
Yeah,
he can do a 3-hour book.
You know what? I'd ask him for another book afterwards and just watch him lose his mind.
He's just in there. I don't know, dude.
He literally did the meme of the DM meme where like, all right, he clearly wants us to go right. I'm gonna say he goes left, and he pulls out the giant folder like, all right, let's do it. Let's play your stupid game.
I have time today.
In hindsight, it now seems like everyone at the table was an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no good guys here.
Everybody was passive aggressive.
No one looks at the guy and goes, hey, dude, the DM has better shit to do than
If anyone was the victim, it's the DM.
Dude.
Everyone just stay quiet. You guys are dicks.
See, if we're playing 40K and Aaron goes, hey Tyler, what's a bolter? I'm gonna swing on him.
Tyler, can you tell me the exact trigger timing and chambering of this bolter?
Yeah, it's go fuck yourself, and your guy contracted large amounts of different cancers and died.
He's got he contracted space AIDS, bro.
Right now, suddenly, a demon came out of the warp and ate him. Oh, I want to make a new character. Nah,
Don't I
bro.
get to shoot at him? How does a bolter work?
Yeah, no, sorry. He actually, you remember when I described the timing for that? Yeah, he actually was faster. So fuck you.
I thought I was a bolter. Shut up, bitch.
Dude, I would lose my. I would. I would kill Aaron. I would just straight up. I wouldn't kill him right away. I just make his life in the game horrible. It's like, hey, so I know you wanted to like pick the lock or like do the code. Your arm fell off. Like, so deal with that. You're still in the suit, but your arm is just in there. So you have to live with that.
I know you got a 20, but little did you know that this door reverses every flip.
So actually you got a critical fail. So go, it's actually an airlock, and you flew out. So now they have to go get you. Have fun with your party. Try to explain this to them. Like,
no, I'm not doing all that, dude. That's a lot.
With the story being read and our opinions formed, I would say this is a great ending to our story.
Wow, you actually ended you did more in about 2 minutes right now than the entire DM did for multiple sessions. You ended the game.
I don't want to be that guy. What game do you play where you're playing with pets the entire session?
Don't worry about that. You don't want to know. Don't worry about that. You don't want to know.
We'll see you next time on Our Corner.
Wait. Before you leave, can you describe each lizard?
We'll see you next time on Our Corner. This has been Aaron.
And Tyler. Anyway, about the lizard. So is one green?
Well, I was just thinking maybe it was had a bluish hue with kind of a rainbow metallic phase.
I'm already bored.